no one is an expert in everything.
This is The Payoff with me, Sylvia Jeffries. Janine, welcome to The Payoff. It's so great to have you here.
Thanks for having me.
Before we sat down today, I was going over your long list of job titles from a very early age prior to Bruce Juice. So let's just rattle off a couple of them. A media assistant, a model, an assistant gym manager, a promotions executive, a camp counsellor, a stewardess, cinema senior manager, publicist, author, touring agent, Survivor contestant, and of course, Boost Juice founder. But the title that really jumped out at me was nanny to David Bowie's children.
Yeah, nah, that was not it. No.
Well, what do you mean?
No, it was, I was never, no, his son, when I met him, was about 19, so that would have been creepy because I was only 21.
Okay.
No, I was a stewardess on his yacht.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
so no, I was a traveller, and I was a camp counsellor in there, and and I was a nanny in France. Probably that's where the confusion was.
Okay.
But yeah, no, I got I think in back when I was 21, there was no internet and no mobile phones, and so when I went for a job on a boat in the south of France, I said to them they had all this experience on the massive yachting industry that is Melbourne.
Yeah.
Clearly.
Sure.
Right, clearly, right.
Yeah.
And because of all my experience, I got the head stewardess role. And 6 weeks later, Bowie bought it.
Oh.
And so, yeah, for the next 2 years, I got to hang out with rock stars and movie stars.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what did that job entail? What kind of requests were being made of you in a job like that?
Look, he was a lovely guy. He was a really good guy. I remember one time, because you forget that he's David Bowie, right? Because he's just David that wants a drink, or you're the stewardess, so you're you clean his room, you serve him, you do dinner, you do helicopter organise, you're everything, right? And you don't have a time off because you're on the boat. But I remember one time he was sitting there, and it was got a band that he was starting up called Tin Machine at the time. Mm-hmm. And he started to warm his vocals to do some recording for this new band, and he sang Space Oddity. I remember sitting in the galley, and I was like, from me to the wall away, and I went, oh shit, that's David Bowie. Like, I just went, because you don't think of him as David Bowie until you hear Space Oddity, and you're
He's just your boss.
and you just go, it's David, right? And so then you go, oh my God, that is the and I'm sitting here going, private audience of David. He doesn't know it's a private audience, but yeah, so I've seen David Bowie live doing Space Oddity 5 meters away.
As a solo audience.
Solo audience, yes.
What's he like to work for? What was he
Yeah,
like to work for?
he was great. He it was interesting because when he was probably about 42 at the time, when I was about 21, and I met his financial advisor called Bruce Dunbar, who we found out later that he actually pretty much was broke not that long ago, maybe 10 years earlier. And I don't know, he got ripped off from a whatever, but anyway, he didn't have much money. And Bruce got him back on his feet. And you sort of go, as a, because I always think there's two people. There's like us normal people, and then there's super people, right? And I thought he was a super person that had no problems because they're super people.
Of course.
And, to think that, he's gone through all of that, and then it came out the other side, and obviously became incredibly wealthy. And, so that was really interesting. And I also met one of his best friends who was the cause of his double-coloured eyes.
Oh, yeah.
Because he's got a blue eye and a green eye.
Yeah.
And I was talking to him, and he was a great guy, and they were in a fight at school. And so through this fight that his best friend did, damaged his retina, and it changed the colour of his eye.
And they were still friends at
Oh,
that
yeah,
stage?
great friends.
Wow.
Yeah, I think so he's just down to earth. He never treated us like staff. Like if he went because he had a house in Mustique, and if he went to a party, he'd always bring us. And he would, so it was always very inclusive. There was, I'm on the beach throwing frisbees with Mick Jagger. It's just like you're just going, yeah, this is weird.
It's bizarre. So a lot of people in life won't get that up close look at that kind of world of exclusivity and extreme wealth and fame and fortune and all of that. What did you learn about life and about that kind of life in a role like that?
I think it was really good for me to take it into business because as I said to you, I thought that they were super people, and what I realised that people are just people, and it really was an aha moment for me because I left school at 16, so when I started business, I was literally probably the least educated person in the room, every room I was in, but it never bothered me. It never made me think less than or more than anyone else. I just went, I'm here for my role. no one is special. Everyone is just, you're a lawyer, I'm paying you a lot of money, I'm going to learn from you as much as I can. If I'm asking a stupid question, you think it's stupid, that's your issue, not my issue. And I just kind of, and I never thought, people threw around this title of the imposter syndrome, right? I just think it's rubbish. I don't think it exists.
What do you mean by that?
Well, because no one is an expert in everything. And if you say you're an expert in something, then you've stopped growing. So in actual fact, when I started my Boost Juice bars from scratch, 25 years ago, I wasn't an imposter. I was a person on a journey learning, and I didn't know anything. So I wasn't pretending I was something. I was just on a journey. And, so every single thing that we do, whether you're a journalist, whether you're on TV, whether you are starting a business, whether you're a runner, you're not pretending to be that. You're just on a journey. And so I never understand how people sort of go, I feel like I don't deserve it. It's like, well, it's not about deserving it. It's just you're somewhere on a journey that will never end until it ends. So why put a label on it? Because that's what a meaning of life is, learning.
That's so interesting to me because it's a term that seems to really resonate with a lot of people who feel like they don't deserve to be in the position that they're in. So what do you think is at the core of that feeling then, if so many people are carrying it?
I think we get in our own way.
Yeah.
Instead of just going, I am where I am and I'm okay to ask questions and I'm okay to find the answer, then I think that like there's an acronism. Is that close? Is that word nearly right? Acronism?
Let's go with it.
Okay,
yeah.
we will. Right. You kind of know what I'm meaning, right?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
All right.
Yeah.
That really resonated with me, that actually sort of helped me think how I think.
Yeah.
And it is basically SAW, right? So it's solutions, right? Everything is a problem. Everything has a solution. You just got to keep it. Ownership, like I own everything. So I don't go, poor me, I'm pretending. I go, look, it's my problem to solve. I'll find a way through. Accountability and responsibility, SOAR. And the other one, which we can all fall into the web of, is being a verb, which is being a victim, entitled, rescue and blame. And I find that people who think that they are imposter syndromes, they're sitting in that world of verb. They're sitting in the world of, I'm a victim, I'm not quite right where I need to be. I'm entitled. I deserve to have a business. I deserve to have a career. I deserve to have, no one deserves anything. You're responsible for achieving yourself. VER, rescue, they always think that someone else has the answer for them, and they never try and solve their problem themselves. They always look first externally instead of looking internally. It's okay to look externally, but look internally first and blame. I mean, how many times do everyone just blame everyone?
Point the finger somewhere else. Yeah.
So I think that if you live in the world of verb, that's where that verb is that world of I'm an imposter syndrome. I'm my life isn't as good as it could be. I hate the partner. I hate my friend. Like they're verbs.
So and so is in my way.
But it's not my fault, right? But if you change the way you think, and everything is your fault, it actually puts the power back in your hands because it's not your fault. You can't do anything about it.
It's an incredibly pragmatic way to look at life, and I'm sure a very fruitful way to look at life too, because it means you are responsible for all of the outcomes in your own space. Is that how you've always been? Were you pragmatic as a child? Were you brought up to be that way?
I don't think I was brought up to be any way particularly. I don't know about you, because I know you've got 2 kids. I always thought that we dictated how our children ended up, and I had an aha moment that I realised that really all we're there for is to keep them alive, right? Teach them really good manners, give them, instill as many values as we can, and feed them, right? The rest of them, they come out how they come out. Like people look at their children and how they are little is really how they are big. And so you don't really have a say in that journey. So when I think about myself, I don't go, I was raised a certain way, because my sisters and brothers could not be anything. We couldn't be more different. So I think I was always a adventurer. I think that I think everyone's on a spectrum somewhere, and I think I was always the goer of there's more, right? I was brought in an era where I was taught to be the follower. I went to a tech school, I didn't know anyone who went to university, so I never had the big thought of a business. But I did want to just travel. And I think travel teaches you have to be solution oriented with travel, particularly if you're a young, dumb, naive 21-year-old. You have to be solutions, take ownership, accountability, responsibility, or you get yourself into all sorts of trouble, which I did, and I managed to get myself out of it.
Okay, so what kind of trouble did you get yourself into?
Oh, okay. Okay, so I was in Tenerife. This is just one of the stories. I was in Tenerife, Spain, and I was selling timeshare on the streets because, that's what you did in Tenerife, Spain. And then we had a security guard who looked after our apartment block. And he came and I left the door open because my girlfriend was out partying. We didn't have a key. So I was sleeping with not much on. And he came in, I woke up with his hand between my legs and he had a gun belt, he had hammer, because he was a security guard. So it was Spain, it had everything. And honestly, if you were casting someone as the bad guy in a movie, he was it, right? It. And it was really interesting. It was like I came up and, you don't know how you're going to act in that situation, but I was fury. It was absolute fury. And I remember getting up and just quickly throwing something on and yelling at him in English. He didn't speak English, and told him to get out of my place. And luckily he did his zip up and fled. Which he could have. There could have been an alternative. And I remember shutting the door and then wrote the next day to the blah, blah, blah. That was one time that I skimmed it. The other time it was just so stupid. I was hitchhiking in the south of France, and it was the Cannes Film Festival was on. And this guy picked me up, and I just wanted to go. It wasn't even that far. And he told me he was a director for a movie thing in the south of France. He's down there for Cannes, and it was soft porn, and I'd be perfect for it apparently. And I thought, oh shit, here I am. I'm in a bit of trouble here. And so then I thought, okay, what's the way out of this? And because he drove past my spots that he wanted to drop me off, and I managed to convince him that I thought that was the best idea ever. And I couldn't think of anything better to be into soft porn. Clearly hadn't seen my body at the time. And then I sort of, we stopped and he let me out, and I said, oh, look, I'm just going to grab something and I'll meet you back there in, half an hour, whatever. And obviously took off. Yeah. But there was sort of situation, and there was another time in the south, in Canary Islands, where these couple of guys who were friends of ours had a contract out on their lives, and we had to find them a safe house. I mean,
what?
Canary Islands is very dodgy.
Your life reads like a movie.
Oh my God, Canary Islands! There was about 20 of them, mostly English, and they went to a pub in Playa de las Americas, and they got into a fight, and all of them. The police said to the taxi drivers, anyone going to Playa de las Americas, which is where we were staying, take them directly to jail. And so there was about 15 guys. The youngest was 14 years old. Oh my goodness. Who could put straight into jail. And we would go and visit them. And 3 months I were in jail, and the judge hadn't even seen it. Wow. It was so dodgy.
Oh my gosh.
So dodgy. So we actually, my girlfriend was, I won't even go into another story because there's another story, but we ended up escaping the island on a catamaran and went to the Algarve.
Wow.
But what it taught me was that failure is not an option, because in some of those situations, the outcome was dire. And so you had to find a way out of some of these situations and use all your wit and your skills to kind of, find your way out.
It feels like you've lived 1,000 lives already. And it was an overseas trip that started it all for Boost Juice as well. That adventurous spirit of yours was what opened your eyes to that possibility. Tell me a bit about that. What was it that first sparked the idea?
Look, I was my husband and I were married. I had 3 little kids. I was working for United International Pictures as a publicist, and I didn't want to work for someone again. And so we tried a few businesses that didn't really work. And then I went over to he was on a radio junket over in LA, and I saw the category of smoothies and juices. And so I came back to Australia with literally zero business experience, like zero, and went, okay, let's try this. And so we did a business plan and opened our first store, and then went on a massive learning curve and just did. But I think naive played an important part, because as we talked earlier about how we get in our way mentally, and I think that if you're naive and you don't know enough, sometimes you don't know what you don't know, and you don't know how hard it is, or you don't know how scary it is, or you don't know how risky it is, and then you just do it, and then by the time you're in it,
Mm.
how. So naivety gets you so far,
Yeah.
then fear gets you the rest.
That's right. Yeah. And that it helps being a bit younger when you
Yes.
don't have children to be responsible
yeah.
for or
Yeah.
a massive mortgage to think about. But did you mortgage your house to set up Boost Juice?
Yeah, I mean, my husband was still working, so he was in radio.
Yeah.
And I had stopped working, was doing it. But the business needed funding, and the only asset we had, like a lot of Australians, was just the
Family home.
equity in the family home. So we sold that and then put all the money in that and then just kept growing it. So we were renting and we were all in.
You're all in.
All in.
That sounds like something that you're quite comfortable with, going all in on
Yeah.
something.
I don't know. You just sort of, sometimes you just go, what's the solution to this? Well, stopping wasn't an option. We had to move forward. So that was the only option. So I don't know. Sometimes you've only got one option.
Yeah. When you started out with Boost Juice, how many stores were you planning to open? What was the grand plan?
I think we always were, again, naivety. How hard is it, we'll do heaps, right? I think we just I don't think there was a grand plan at the start. I think it was like get one and then we were thinking about second, third, fourth, five. We were thinking about that. But I remember one time, it was literally me and a Great Dane and one other person doing it, right? And I remember we were sitting around a table and we had, my husband there and a couple other people around the table, and we did this big strategy meeting, which was, where are we heading? What do we need? What are the resources we need? Which is brilliant because it gives you a plan and action. And I remember they were sitting there and I was the only sort of doer. And they said, okay, we've got 100 stores in 4 years. I thought, yeah, good on you. Who's going to open them? I thought, oh, shit, it's me.
That'd be me.
Yeah, that would be me. Oh, okay. And then you go, okay, we'll just do it. And I remember one time speaking to the team, because we actually eventually got a team, and said, because we were opening, a store a week at one point, I said, look, just don't count. What do we need to do today to get that store open in 3 months done? So, okay, let's have a plan. And it was a constant creator of spreadsheets as because you'd get it wrong. Then you go, okay, I don't mind getting it wrong once, but how do I avoid that in the future? So it was constant, right, how do I do it? I mean, I was, in fairness, from 30 to 40, hot mess. Like I was raising, I had 3 kids, the youngest was 7 months, didn't go out for lunch, didn't go out, didn't see anyone, just worked.
Just grinding for 10 years.
Grinding, yeah.
So 25 years later, after you first started Boost Juice, what does it look like today?
Oh, look, Boost Juice, which is now Retail Zoo, is, there's 900 stores in 13 countries of Boosts.
900 stores.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Wow.
And it's 25 years. Under the Retail Zoo banner, we've got Betty's Burgers and Salsa's Fresh Mixed Grilled, and they're going really well. And so, but I've sort of sold down to in that business to sort of a small shareholder, but certainly involved as chair, and still very much my baby, and the DNA, and then certainly helping my my partner and his son. I actually gave birth to him. So
so you can definitely take some credit for him.
With the business, which is Yochi.
Yeah. Tell me a bit about that. So obviously entrepreneurialism is running thick in the blood. Your son has started Yochi with your husband, is that right? What was the pitch? Did he come to you and pitch that, or did he go straight to your husband and pitch it? And were you proud of the pitch?
No, look, it's pretty much started with my daughter actually saw it is in Malvern. So it had 4 stores. There was 4 stores, been around for 8 years, right? It came with there was a first wave of sort of the froyo. And it was actually just before, it was my husband, who can really pick a concept, he saw it and said, yep, this has got some magic dust, which is not a business term, but it should be. Right? And then literally he contacted them and offered them. It was the Maid Group. So we said, we like the concept, we'd like it. They said, no, we're not interested in that price. We said, okay. A few months later, they got into financial trouble and said, yep, it's for sale. Long story short, we bought it. 2 weeks later, COVID hit, so all the stores closed. And then during that period, we managed to sign a lot of leases. And then, what was it? 5 years later, there's 50 stores.
Wow.
And so, where my son comes in, it was like good on him. He salary sacrificed to get into the business.
Right.
So, in this stage, the business is like 4 little stores, right?
Yeah.
And so he came in, and both, actually, I really admire the brain that Oliver and Jeff both have. They've both got this incredible marketing brain that's just twisted a little bit, which is good. And then really we got our Jeff's sister and his husband, who were phenomenal retailers, and then they opened South Australia and Perth. And they were a great asset, so that enabled us to grow quickly there. And then we've put the business together and off we go. And we're opening our first store in Singapore this week.
Wow!
Yeah.
You talk about magic dust and marketing as well. I remember reading in the news about Yochi becoming a place for dates. Gen Z are going on Yochi dates because everyone's so much more health conscious these days. No one's going to the pub anymore, and a schooner costs like $25, so they're going on Yochi dates instead. Is that something that was deliberately planned from a marketing perspective, or has that happened organically?
Well, it was. If you think about coming out of COVID, what were people craving more than anything was social connection. So that's what people wanted, and so social connection then comes into every form. It's a safe place for young teenagers to meet. It's a safe place if you're not sure about the date and you want it to be short.
Yeah, true.
You can get through a Yochi in about 20 minutes. Yeah. It's okay.
You can pull the plug quickly.
If it's not going so well. So it then naturally became a great place for people to meet for first dates.
So I worked at McDonald's as a 14-year-old. It was my first job, and I remember them saying part of our marketing strategy is clean bathrooms, because people will come in here to use a bathroom and then they'll get a Diet Coke and a cheeseburger on the way out. So creating a warm environment as a meeting place, is that part of the strategy at Yochi?
Absolutely. So there's a disco ball. Why? Because why not? Every place needs a disco ball. So the lights are turned down. The music is the right music. Again, I think, from my husband's from radio, so I think he understands that. You've just got to try harder. It's a bit like, in fairness, in podcast, TV, radio, it's free.
Yeah.
Right? You have to give people a reason every day to turn you on, to choose you. And I think that's what he's very good at, because he's a programmer. And so his programming experience at Austereo, where it was like people just push a button or click a switch, made them, how do I get them to stay? How do I get them to come back? How do I understand the customer to keep coming? But really that social connection was where Yochi is, and then the social media is just, and they're clever. I mean,
really smart.
I'm really good at the nuts and bolts. I can put the house together, but they just understand brand, and so they're quite extraordinary.
What have you learnt through Boost Juice and Retail Zoo and Yochi around the importance of finding a target audience or target market? Do you keep it broad, or do you go narrow and niche?
Always narrow and niche. Always.
Why is that?
Well, because, so you go, all right, let's look at Boost, or let's look at Yochi. Sure, an 80-year-old can come in there, and sure, a 5-year-old comes in. But a marketing strategy to a 5-year-old is very, very different to a marketing strategy to an 80-year-old, right? You go to, I don't know if you've done lawn bowls, but I remember doing those bowls, right? I remember standing on that square at the start, and it was a funeral home, right? That was quite targeted to 80-plus-year-old females or males, right? If you've got, a 5-year-old, then probably Dora the Explorer is something you would target at. So you've got to understand who your core market is. And every product has a core market. And that core market for us is, for both of them actually, is a bullseye about 25-year-old. 25-year-old, 30-year-olds want to be them, and 16-year-olds to be them, right? A 25-year-old is aspirational. They know what the latest trends are. They're early adopters. And so you have to, if someone goes, my target market is everybody, then they don't understand marketing. Because then how do you market it? Because you have to have a tone, and the tone dictates your audience. I mean, it's no different to TV. You have an audience that you
have to know who they are, what they want.
Yeah, correct. You can't go, oh, everyone watches my TV show. It doesn't work that way.
Yeah. What about your kitchen cabinet? Your group of unofficial advisors in life. I know a lot of people will recommend, especially young people in life starting out in their careers, to assemble a kitchen cabinet, the people they can lean on for advice in different areas. It might be money, it might be business, it might be education, all those different things. Do you have your own kitchen cabinet in life?
I don't see it as a kitchen cabinet, probably because it's so unorganised. I see it as buckets, right? And I wish I could tell you the name of the title of this author, but the theory was that you won't get all your happiness in one bucket. Right, so, I've got a bucket over here that is probably Pierre Miranda and a couple other people that I've you've become really close with, that you're not judged. It's your therapy bucket, right? It's your fringe bucket where you know that you've got your back no matter what, right? And then you've got your bucket, which is, you probably get from your husband, which is, again, sort of something else. But
unconditional support.
Unconditional support or whatever. But then you don't always get everything from one person. Like you may need a bunch of girlfriends for that, or you may need a mother or a sister or a dog, right? So you don't get everything from one person, or there might be someone that you pick up the phone to if you're sort of hitting walls with regard to certain things. So for me, it's sort of my happy bucket. Like I have a girlfriend that I surf with every morning, and she's just joyful, right? She's my just joyful bucket, We get up, we laugh because we're up before the sunrise, and we put
so you're delirious.
We're delirious and still tired. Yeah. And, we're paddling out for the waves, and, she's my happy bucket. So I think that, I sort of see it as, I have different people for different things in my life.
Don't keep all your eggs in one basket.
But I'm also really, if none of these people are people that I wouldn't love to spend time with. You know how people go, oh, she called, oh, God, I have to, like, and someone said to me once, and it'd be an interesting question for you, right? So if something bad happens in your life, right? How many people could you call, right?
Yeah, I mean, I've got my husband, my brother and my sister, my mum and my dad.
For bad stuff.
For bad stuff, I've got a couple of friends who I really rely on in bad times. Yeah.
Now, the second question is, if something goes incredibly well, like you've won lotto or the best gig you've ever had, how many people can you tell?
I'd probably still tell the same group of people.
Yeah, because interesting, a lot of people wouldn't have a wider group for the good news. Because a lot of people, if things are going really well for you, feel bad about themselves because they're going, I want that.
Yeah.
And they don't mean to, but there's normally a smaller group of people that you tell the good stuff to than you tell the bad stuff to.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah. And there's sort of a self-preservation element to that, isn't there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, there really is.
I'm really envious of you surfing. I grew up in Queensland. All I wanted to be was a grommet, and I could never do it. When did you start surfing?
Well, I said to you before that from 30 to 40, I was pretty much
you were a hot mess.
Literally a hot mess. And then at 40, I took up surfing. I took up yoga. I took up tennis. Seriously. And it was one of those things that I went, right, I'm doing it, and I'm going to, and I was only, because I was from Melbourne, I would only do it on weekends because we'd have to drive we had a little place in Aireys Inlet that we would drive, then I'd do it on weekends. And it was hard to sort of get any momentum. And so I was sort of pretty much a trashy surfer. I probably still am, up until we moved to Sydney and then went to the Northern Beaches. And then now it's just a daily ritual.
Wow.
Yeah.
And what does that give you? Is that your third space in life? Like, how does that fill your cup?
Oh my God, it so fills my cup. It's very humbling because it's the only sport that you go out and every single time it's a different playing field.
Yeah.
But it is, there is something about the freshness of the ocean. I mean, there's science that talks about grounding and the elements of the minerals and the elements in the ocean that actually is good for your health, right? There's the benefit of sleep, watching your sleep is better. It turns on your circadian rhythm if you watch the sunrise, right? So you're getting that. You're getting a feeling of gratefulness because the amount of times I say, how lucky am I? Even I said that 10 times this morning because it was sunny, the birds were over there was dolphins over here, it was just magic. And then you've got the challenge of conquering something I find really difficult is surfing, right? And some days you go, oh my God, I'm the best. And other days you go, oh my God, that is just
I suck at this.
I'm suck at this.
Yeah.
Like I'm shit at it. So I think it is one of those ones where it's just, and you find the same people in the morning. So it's normally like, I don't know if you remember that cartoon character when there was the road runner and the coyote. And it was like, morning, George.
Yeah.
That's what it feels like in the sort of, hey, Anya.
Yeah.
Hey, Cara. Hey, Mo. Like it's this. it's quite a community.
Your little early bird club out in the ocean.
And I'm not old. Like there's people so much older than me surfing. It's just this great little community.
So I have a confession to make. I found the line about you being David Bowie's nanny on ChatGPT.
Oh, there you go.
Yep. So I think there's a good lesson in there that maybe all of our jobs won't be taken by AI. What are your thoughts on AI and how it's disrupting a lot of industries and jobs at the moment, and what it would mean for your 4 children?
Yeah, I'm an early adopter on AI. I love it. I'm very much a person, if I can make my life easier, I will. And I use ChatGPT for everything. If you probably want more accurate information, I'm finding Gemini is a little bit more accurate.
Okay.
But ChatGPT is just launched number 5. Not that I'm an advocate, I'm promoting it. Have you seen the video AI 2027?
No.
Yeah, I recommend you look at it. It's actually, it talks about the next 2 years and what's happening. And even though it can be quite confronting, it's also, there's some really great stuff about it, whether it's cancer cures or, and like the internet, like there's a lot of bad on the internet, but there's a lot of good on the internet. I think AI will be similar. I mean, yes, I think there's a genuine fear of, we're creating these entities that have a capacity to not have a soul, and so I think that there is that. But then I just think to myself, can't you just turn them off? Like, I just think, how hard can it be? But I'm sure that they'll work out how we stop us doing that. But so I think AI is yes, it will take jobs, right? I would trust an AI over a doctor, even now, because another story, bad story, and I also think that I use it a lot for legal. So I use it for checking, but I don't, like to your point about me being a nanny on David Bowie's boat, I don't think it's just completely accurate. I keep asking and digging a bit deeper, and I do run a couple of AI simultaneously to spot check, and definitely have found, for if I want really accurate stuff, I do find Gemini is probably a little bit more up there.
So,
but they're all catching up.
I'm wondering. I mean, I know I need to do more training. Do you do any training with AI?
You don't do training. People say you can do courses. There's no course to do. I think you use it, and you work out what it does for you. So I think that I never use Google. I go straight to a chat or Gemini, and I'll ask it for the information. So, but what it does is it helps me just sort it. And I think what it does is because I use it all the time, then it now has a history of what I need and what I look for, and it's all got a history of things that I have. So, if I need, what are the rules in New South Wales for X, or I want to do this contract, can you please review it and make it applicable to UK law? Or here are my bloods. Can you give me an analysis on my bloods? So it's it is one of those things that you need to kind of use a lot for it to get any good.
You just have to use it, learn it, figure it out.
Yeah, I think that when that AI 2027 is quite confronting, but I think that you have to lean into it. And if what I feel gutted for is internships. Because, particularly in the financial market, banking, legal, in those sort of consulting areas where it's data driven, the AI is, if it's not there, it's
gobbling that all up.
It is. And so, why not pay, a few $1,000s a year instead of a person? So it's very hard for people to come in to uni
get their start.
To get their start. That's where the struggle is getting their start. So I think that's where the trouble, and it will take jobs. It will. But then so did other revolutions. So you've got to adapt,
That's
maybe, plumber. We'll always need a plumber. We'll always, there'll be things that we always need. Thank God we always need to eat.
Yes, exactly. So speaking of needing to eat, I was wondering why anyone would put their hand up to go on Survivor, because it looks really hard. And I'm someone who really likes to be comfortable. But now that I'm hearing some of your stories, I can see how adventurous you are. What was it that made you want to take that on?
See, I can't understand why people would say no.
Yeah.
Right? I just go, like when they first asked me, I did feel sick because I went, I don't think I can say no to this, because when do you ever get a chance to really test yourself? Like, because I've always been quite sporty and, good at netball and blah, blah, blah. And I thought...
Were you a GD?
I was a GDGA.
Yeah, I was GA.
Yeah. So, I was quite like being a defender.
Yeah. I can see that in you.
Yeah. They're ridiculously competitive. And I've always loved games. I love games.
Same,
and also like Survivor. So it's sort of... And I thought, okay, I'm never going to get another chance to feel what it's like to be put on a desert island and survive, but then know that there's people around because I'm not really going to die.
Yeah.
Right. I thought that until you see some of the challenges, you go, oh, maybe I might.
Maybe they will let me die.
Maybe they will let me die. So yes, it was one of those things that you go, yes, but you really in your brain going, really, you're doing this? And so it was probably incredible experience, but also horrific. But I think that when you get an opportunity to sit with people with no mobile phones in front of a fire, and you really are a community looking after each other with food and with shelter and with fire, as well as playing a game on the side. And so developing relationships and look, some of my closest friends now are from Survivor. You know, Pia Miranda I would speak to at least once a week. You know, there's you know, the Olympian Lydia Lassalar and Shan, who's a barrister, and you know Abby, who's on Channel 7. You know, we go to Noosa once a year. Actually, I think we're going to the Maldives in October together.
Oh, you're leveling up.
I know.
I like that.
Yes.
Very nice.
Yeah, so we're we have this incredible bond that when we catch up, no one talks about the weather. It's straight into, you know, nice juicy. The onion is well peeled.
Yeah. You've pulled back some of the layers already. What was the hardest thing for you on Survivor?
Look, you know, not eating was fine. The challenges were fine. Probably the hardest thing was, you know, 2:00 in the morning when you hear the rain come and you go, oh, okay, because our shelter skills aren't that great. I discovered, and then you know it rains. You get one drop. You go, okay, I can do one drop, and then then the sky's just opening, and then you're wet. You're wet to the core, and you're cold to the core, and there's no towel, there's no drying, there's no change of clothes. Everything's wet, and it's really that. This is shit. This is really shit. And particularly when the storms come in, the storms are fierce and it's bad luck. You're on Survivor. That's what you signed up for. If you want to leave, leave. It's so, and then, but you know, quitting's not an option either.
Yeah. So what about Shark Tank? I think a lot of our audience would know you from Shark Tank. What is the joy for you in sitting there and hearing people pitch their ideas to you? I imagine that's quite a thrill for you in the position that you're in to listen to people kind of share their bright ideas the way that you did all those years ago.
Oh, yeah, no, I find I've got a curious mind. So, and these people that are coming to Shark Tank, everyone's from a completely different industry and they're from a completely different products. And so to learn about what else is out there, what they're doing, how the challenges they're having and how they're navigating it. I mean, I'm a firm believer that I never have all the answers. And so every single person that comes on that map will teach me something about something or give me information I never knew beforehand. So I thought it was fascinating. And I really enjoyed the company of the other sharks. They were really fun.
Is there one pitch that's really struck you over the years?
Guy who I've still got investment in, and it was just a really simple product. It was a scrubber bag. And so basically it was like a wet bag and it had little nodules in it that you take away when you travel and you put your clothes in it and you put a little bit of detergent and it's a washing machine and it does it as good as a washing machine. And, you know, it was just one product and he was a patent attorney lawyer, but he has this one product. And it just sold. He sold in America, sold on Amazon, and even today I've still got an investment. He still sends dividends. Like it's
genius. It's just, every time I go away, I get sore like red raw knuckles from washing things in the basin.
Completely.
Because I'm not paying for the laundry service in the hotel. It's the world's biggest rort.
You could buy a jump of what they charge you to clean it.
Exactly. I'll go down to Zara and get some new stuff.
Absolutely.
Insane. Wow. So what is the difference between a good pitch and a bad pitch?
I talked about SAW and Verb. The people who, because look, let's not kid ourselves, businesses fail, right? Actual fact, 4 out of 5 fail in the first 5 years. So they've got to be capable of not just going to base camp, but going all the way to the top of the mountain. And so what I'm looking for is that person who has those SAW capabilities, you know, really solution-based ownership. So I'm listening to things like when things went bad, what do they do about it? You know, I'm looking for things, how they take ownership of it, you know, but then if you hear someone turn around and go, look, you know, my business was turning over $1 million, it's only $600,000 now, $100,000 now, but that's because, you know, petrol prices, interest rate rise, it's like they never take accountability for the fact that their business isn't doing well, or I deserve to have this, or, you know, no one could help me. Like I listened if I start to hear the verb mentality, I just know that they're in that 4 out of 5 category, and they won't, no matter how good their product is, they won't succeed because they haven't got the right attitude. They get in their own way.
I think there are a lot of people, especially in this country, we're afraid to speak positively about ourselves. There's a tall poppy syndrome. We don't want to sound like we're boasting.
Yeah.
We want to be humble and grounded. How can we, if we feel like we're smashing it and we're kicking ass, what kind of language would you use if your business was successful and you were talking to people about it?
Yeah, I think if you're truly honest in your pitch, you will say the humbling things. You will say that, you know what, I didn't get that right, but because of this, I then found a way. You would say things like, I'm not there yet, but I have the resources to ensure that I have the knowledge that I can gain. So it's actually truly, it's not humble, it's just being real and honest, because there is no one out there that has the answers. No one. And so, if they come up and they say that they're the expert, run. Because then they haven't got a curious mind. They haven't got the attitude that if there's a better way, we'll find it. And they haven't learned from their mistakes. No one learns anything from success. It's only the failures.
Well, I also read this, and now I'm questioning everything I've read about you online, but I did read that you're very open to your team members giving you feedback on things that they disagree with. And is that a very deliberate approach?
I think totally.
Yeah.
You know, I think and you have to learn things too. You know, when I started, I was so busy. I went, right, okay, this is what we're going to do, right? And so because everyone's polite, they go, oh, okay, well, Janine said that's what we're going to do. I have an opinion on that, but she didn't ask it. And I learned that I was missing out on such great knowledge from the people around me. I mean, why are they in the room if I'm not listening to them? So I made sure that when we had a discussion that I always went last, because in actual fact, what you find with listening more than talking is that there is so much wisdom from people, and you get surprised of their background or their thought process and so, you know, you absolutely, and you know, I love the fact that someone goes, look, Janine, I think what you said has valid, but have you considered this? Right? So I love that. And that's kind of my view, that people don't work for me, they work with me, because I know that I can't do it on my own. I know I can't. And so I want to have people that are smarter than me in areas. I want people to be able to, you know, to help me
learn and grow.
Yeah, learn and grow. And they only can do that by listening.
You're obviously someone who's done incredibly well and deserves to have done incredibly well. And I wonder how you approach money and business and career conversations with your own children to ensure that they create something for themselves as well. What kind of money lessons and life lessons do you share with them to set those foundations?
Well, I came from no money. So, you know, there was no, you know, money safeguard. I had to buy my own car and, you know, so, and there's all sorts of techniques that people use. You know, they give them, I've heard that they give them pocket money and they manage it. And yeah, but every child is so different that what works for one doesn't work for another. You know, I tried with my daughter to go, okay, I'm not going to buy, you know, hair or skincare or any of your things. Here is money and you manage it through that, right? That didn't quite work, right? So you kind of keep trying things. But, you know, my oldest son, Samuel, who's now 33, he's now just getting that. He's never had money, he's never one that seems to be able to hold on to money and save money. And so, you know, I work with him differently. You know, so for his coffee roasting business, I've bought half into it. So then he's not accountable to me, he's not. But we work together, and together I help educate him on profit and loss, what you need to look at and what you need to do. Riley, who's my very confident one, who's a YouTuber, just gets it. Right, so he will come to me for advice when he needs it, like it could be on trademark or mergers and acquisitions or some bigger thinking, because he just gets it, right? And then I have another son who is super conservative, right? So he has got some money out of Yochi, and he's like, you know, but he doesn't want to be the flash. I mean, Riley, love you, Riley, but he's kind of a wanker, right? He's sort of the flashy car, the flashy clothes, the flashy house.
Some things only a mother can say.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. But yeah, and or the overly confident one, let's call him. And so he's sort of that way, but really smart with managing money. But the other one is, he's one like 10% of his salary goes to charities, whether it's East Timor or whatever it is, or he's just quite extraordinary and highly conscious of the environment, and and he's very much instills in the Yochi culture. They're so close to being really a very lightful polluted on the planet because of him, but he's very he won't go out and spend a lot. He loves thrift shops. He goes to op shops. So he's kind of got his money sorted, but as they get probably a little bit more money to handle, it's like, okay, let's talk about where you put it, and
and how do you grow it, and
don't do penny stocks. If someone's promising you a return of 10%, it could be dodgy. And don't believe the internet. So I think with children is various techniques work for different children. I think you need to try techniques that work, and some will stick with some and some won't. But I think the most important thing is that you know when to help at the right time. And our kids, we would match their dollar for dollar for a car, or so we try and do that. I never gave my kids money because I just didn't want them entitled. And also not a way to take away their purpose. And they need to be able to, like me, you had to fight for it and find a way. And
if they know there's a safety net,
correct.
Then, they might not strive quite as hard.
No, they need to go to the shop and go, oh God, I've only got this much. Well, how do I manage it? So I think the best way to teach them to manage money is not give it to them, so they have to budget.
What would you say if one of them came to you and said, Mum, I'm going on holidays to the Canary Islands?
Yeah. I would say no.
Absolutely
You're
not.
not going.
Do they know how street smart their mum is?
I don't know. They sort of see you as your mum.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. I mean, some stories have come out, but they're just funny. Like we have dinners for our birthdays. We call it the OG dinner, the original. So no girlfriends or wives are coming. It's just the OGs. And that's when stories come out. Like, my son tells me how he snuck out, and that my other son, who's got some wild stories, tells me some of his stories. But I'll give you an example of Riley, who is my overly confident one. So we're sitting around, and there's 6 of us, and because I'm on TV, and you get it too. Sometimes people come to you and go, "We've met."
I think you're Ali Langdon. That's what I get all the time.
Do you? Okay.
I had to disappoint them and say, sorry, I'm Sylvia.
I know. Or did we go to school together? When they say
Did we play netball in primary school?
Yeah, right. So the waitress come over and said, you look really familiar. Do I know you? And the overly confident one turned around to her and said, did you watch porn in the 80s?
Oh, my gosh. Oh, my God.
I know. I went, I said, have you not seen my knockers? There is no porn here, right? It was just like, oh my God. I gave him 10 points for wit, but that's a type of.
That's so funny.
Yeah. I know, seriously.
Oh, that's so good.
Bless him. Bless you.
Bless it. Very funny. And no wonder he's doing so well on YouTube.
He is.
Yeah.
He is. So quick.
Okay. So 25 years of Boost Juice. What are you most proud of?
I think that it's 25 years old. I mean, to think that you've created, to think that we've created an iconic Australian brand, and I get a real buzz with a 40-year-old coming up to me and say to me, oh, it was my first job, and that they're executive somewhere, or, I get a real buzz out of the journey, the fact that it's there. I love the fact that we're in, I go to Singapore and they're everywhere, I think I love the fact that I go to a country where it's not English speaking, and, it's there. It's quite extraordinary. I look at the logo and I remember sitting in front of the computer going, should we go the green there or the what colour, and every element of it was just done with common sense, and didn't come from, a marketing degree. It didn't come from a business degree. It came from, what does a customer want? And what would I want? What business would I like to create that I would like to come to as a customer? That's pretty much as simple as it got down to.
Well, congratulations on 25 years.
Yeah, thank you.
And thank you so much for giving us your time, your incredible stories, and sharing some of your knowledge as well with our audience. We're so grateful.
Oh, my pleasure.
We need it. We're going to need a few lunches to carry this on because I need to know more about your 20s, I think.
Good old the 20s.
Thank you, Janine.